Hey everybody, I'm Matt Hill with Night Energy Services.
I'm John Simmons with Epic Workflow.
Jeremiah Smith, Trace Management.
And I'm Jerry Howell with Epic Workflow.
Well, guys, thank you for being here. This is our long-form podcast, the Talking Energy Show. We're here in the Trace Management office. We like to give a shout-out to them. Jeremiah's team gives us a space up here to do a long-form podcast about oil and gas and all things that involved in it, like your new company, and I want you to tell everybody about it, is involved in oil and gas and project management software. And you guys came in and gave us a presentation today, so I wanted you to tell the world about it. I've known John for a little while, met him in Denver at the Doug conference, I believe.
That's right.
And we kind of been kicking it ever since. He was explaining to me how we are doing a really bad job at project management workflow, and now I've seen your software. I'm convinced of that. We don't know what we're doing. We need your help. Tell everybody about it. Who wants to get started? You, Jerry, John?
First of all, I think it's good for Jerry to introduce himself a little bit. I mean, yeah. Matt, we've known each other for some time. I cut my teeth on the upstream space, on deal making space, to acquiring and selling upstream assets. Pivoted that into the tech with Jerry, and it's been a fun ride, kind of learning about business critical workflows that really merit some software around it. And Jerry, why don't you go ahead and
tell us all about yourself. How'd you get involved with this guy and us?
Man, I don't know. Accident, I guess.
Yeah. Give us your little bio.
I actually have known John for quite some time. So the company he worked for was a family-owned business, and owned by a friend of mine's father and brothers. So I've known John for quite some time too. But my background, I started working for a reservoir engineering company based out of Calgary about 15 years ago, and they had a suite of software that geos and engineers use to develop unconventional plays. And so those guys, I started working with those guys, like I said, about 15 years ago. And two of my customers, one of them was Mark Mahorich, the other one was James Ruiz. And Mark worked for Plains and James worked for Apache. And those two guys were tasked at one point with putting about $1 billion into the Haynesville shale. And they had these analysts that were coming to them saying, listen, we need these different plays analyzed right away. We need this stuff. And they would be like, hey, we'll get back to you in 3 days. Those guys would be like, no, we need this in 3 hours. It was so competitive back then. So Mark and James, after beating their heads against the wall, decided, we can build a better mousetrap. And so they went out and spent about a year revolutionizing that software that they were customers of mine using in the past. And so they put everything in the cloud. They used the power of Amazon Web Services on the back end for processing power, and developed a better mousetrap, as I said. So about 2011, they decided to take it commercial. They said, well, we think we've got something now. So they called me. We rolled it out to Marathon. Marathon looked at it and said, well, okay, we think you've got something here, but if you change this, and this, we'll buy it. So we said, deal. So we went back and did it, and lo and behold, they bought it. So that was in 2011, and we put some folks that we knew into the business, and 2.5 years later, we had 150 customers, and we sold the company to Enverus Drilling Info. So,
and when was that?
That was January 6th of 2020, right before negative oil and right before COVID. So we had good timing on that one.
Very, very good timing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So moving forward, we sold that company. We spent about a year with those guys, both Mark and I did. And then we started saying, okay, what we were successful doing in the past was looking at basically an antiquated workflow, people that were using antiquated tools. And we solved that problem. What else is out there in oil and gas that is facing kind of the same dilemma?
Everything.
Everything was the answer, right? So after I left the first software company, I worked for a couple of EPCs. And so I went to Mark and said, look, in the estimation process, this is just rampant in there. Some people are just still literally using paper to do these bid estimations. At best, they're using spreadsheets.
Yeah, RFQs are always on spreadsheets for me.
Exactly. So there's a lot of inherent risk in that, obviously. So you've got the fact that you can fat finger things, and one of the things that we were discussing actually in the car ride over here was that the margins on these construction jobs, whether it's upstream, midstream, downstream, they're so tight. Sometimes 5%, sometimes lower than that. We talked to someone just a week ago that said, in a $500 million job, we could lose a job over $5,000. And they were serious about it. So there are those inherent risks with spreadsheets. Another risk is simply that a lot of the EPCs that you talk to are literally running bids and running projects with one guy that's been there for 30 years. So he's the guy that owns those spreadsheets, and those spreadsheets are his baby. At the same time, if this guy, God forbid, gets hit by a bus or just makes those mistakes, he's the only one that can fix those things. And so you've got a lot of risk there. So anyway, we looked at that process and we said, look, that's something that we can tackle really quickly. So Mark said, look, we've been interacting with a guy out in California. This guy is an incredible programmer. He was an executive with Apple. Eric has stood on the stage with Steve Jobs, literally, with unveiling some of his apps that he's created. Let's see if he's interested in tackling these Houston-based problems. I say Houston, but oil and gas.
He likes oil and gas. He's a fan. Good. See, there are people on the East and West Coast that are strong supporters of oil and gas.
He is from Houston, though.
Yeah.
To make it clear.
Well,
Little caveat there. Never mind.
But
never mind.
Statement.
Take back California.
He's coming home. He's coming home.
And moving home, you're right. So he's excited about it. We're excited to have him. But no, there's no doubt you have that power of West Coast programming. That's where it's at, right, in Silicon Valley. So you have guys that have that kind of experience, taking complex problems and putting them into your iPhone, right, making them apps, making them so easy and intuitive and easy to use. So we said, okay, what if we could harness that kind of power, that kind of knowledge to solve these complex problems in an intuitive, easy way. So we've got this guy Eric, shout out to Eric, coming back to Houston, coming home, and he's brought with him just an incredible group of talent, of programmers. So again, taking that West Coast programming power to solve oil and gas problems, and so we think we've come up with something that really does solve those problems.
Yeah, and it's not just, you showed us earlier, it's not just the, and by all means, we'll give you guys links in the down below, but, when you take a look at the software, it's project management software. Mm-hmm. It's not just the bidding process. It's the whole package from start to finish, and then you can always use those templates to go back to the next project.
Jay, could you give us just your elevator pitch for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to ask some questions that I think other people might want to know. So your elevator pitch for your software, so everyone's got a good grasp before we break into the nuts and bolts. I know we're on a truncated schedule.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So if I had 30 seconds in an elevator to explain our software, it's really just kind of what I said. It's taking a very complex problem, which is project management, complex from a number of different angles. Bidding, bid leveling, communication is huge. So it's taking that problem that's usually solved by antiquated software, i.e. spreadsheets, Excel, and it's taking that and it's putting it into one platform, a single platform for all of the communication, for all the bid leveling, for all the project management. It puts it all in basically in one place, so that if you're procurement, if you're estimation, if you're business development, or if you're an executive, you're looking at and viewing this problem all or this project rather, all real time.
So so they gave us a presentation earlier on it, and could you elaborate? The cool part I found about it was the fact that instead of getting all these random bids in PDF format or Excel that are being sent to us as a project management company, you actually forward them an email and they fill out your bid sheet. So it kind of puts some of the work back on the vendor instead of you having to then put it in your spreadsheet. Can you go into a little bit of detail about that? I mean, it's pretty cool functionality.
Yeah, sure. So exactly what you said. So we will bring in, at no cost, as many subcontractors, the ones that obviously that your business works with quite a bit. We give them access to the software so that when you create an RFP, you can send that invitation to bid directly to 3, 5, however many potential vendors that you want to. You can send that invitation to bid to them. they go through basically a form worksheet that you've already created, and they can submit that bid directly to you so that you're not dealing with sending an RFP, having that communication go through email. Sometimes it can go through text, which from a procurement standpoint, it's got to be a big no-no, right? So you're communicating on one platform. So you submit that to them. They can fill out that bid. They can also answer questions or ask questions through the portal. And so that's always going to become a standard of record for all of that. You can also communicate directly back to them. So if, say you got a response from one of those vendors and you're like, not really sure about this. I'm not sure they read the takeoffs the correct way. Maybe the quantities, there's something wrong here. You can send a note to those guys through the system that they can receive through email and maybe even through text, and they can respond directly through that. So again, you've got that one system of record right there.
Yeah, everything's in and out of the portal.
Will there be an app? So our project managers, they could be out on a well site for another client handling something, instead of popping out their laptop, but they get a response to an RFP. Are they going to be able to use their phone quickly or something like that to be like, hey, I need a little bit of clarity on this or something like that, all through their phone instead of having to have a desktop? Yep,
absolutely. Through the phone or through an iPad and respond directly through that.
What about attachments? So you got a vendor that has a wellhead, right? There's several different pieces to that, and I can't go into detail, but you need those attachments to actually view how it's set up, the height, just images and stuff like that in a PDF. When they upload their bid, would they be able to upload that as well?
Yeah, great point. So absolutely. So not only can you upload those documents, but I keep saying system of record or whatever, you can now make that your document management storage place, right? So you've got all those documents along with all the communication.
So a big part of that, Jerry, it sounds like, are you guys using Amazon Web Services for your back end and all that?
You know what? I don't think we're using. Are we using Amazon
AWS
as a database? Okay.
So the big thing with that we're all reading about on a daily basis is cybersecurity threats. So what are you guys doing to protect someone else's proprietary data?
Very, very good question. So, if Mark were here, he's the database guy, and he could give that answer to you. We were down in Pascagoula, Mississippi last week, and he gave a very technical response to that. You're not going to get a technical response from me, other than to say that I've heard Mark a couple of times talk about the level of encryption that we use going through Amazon Web Services. So, what I do know in a non-technical way is that if our database were ever penetrated, all the hacker would see would be generic information. They couldn't tell if it belonged to you, the next customer, or anything else. So they basically get nothing out of.
There's multiple layers too that they have to go through.
If someone wanted to learn more about that, could they go to epicworkflow.tech and kind of see what you guys are doing for cybersecurity?
And just fill out the question. Yeah, we'd love to give you a way more technical answer than I just gave you.
Yeah, it's become so prevalent. So a lot of our customers at this point, we have to have insurance or something to show that we can protect their data.
Yeah,
it's a very relevant thing, and it's only getting bigger by the day.
You're absolutely right. We just came from a lunch where we heard some guys talking about an application that they were going to put out to all these vendors, and I said, man, that kind of, and subcontractors. I said to John, man, that sounds kind of similar to what we're doing, just to get adoption, right? What a great idea. We hope. But one of the things they said is, we're going to make it so easy for these subcontractors to join this portal that we're not going to put passwords up. We're not going to do anything that would make these guys not want to join. I said, oh my God. Oof. And they're dealing with, without going into detail, I wouldn't want to do that, but they're dealing with trucking companies. I leaned over at lunch to John and I said, can you imagine somebody hacking, JB Hunt Trucking and shutting down half the United States at one time? Mm-hmm. So say all that to say, yeah, we've with Q Engineering, we definitely had to go through all the rigor. And we're definitely doing it now.
As a follow-up to that, the other part is, so I'm not the right guy for that. Like, I have one point of contact for getting pipe bids in Oklahoma, but there's a different guy that actually handles their South Texas. Can they forward on the bid and respond to that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So you would list a number of different contacts, internal contacts, and then we'll upload a number of different vendors. You've got all these different vendor profiles, their safety records, all of those things. in a vendor profile.
So I just need to walk in my office and your portal's up, and that's all I need. I don't have anything else to do.
When you're setting up a project, of course.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, we want to be careful of that. No software is all things to everyone, right?
No, I need it to be. I need you guys to get on that.
That's
Yeah,
your answer.
why are you even in here unless it's going to be all
John had the
things?
right answer.
Yeah.
It's important that your software
You
communicates.
got to be a better salesman.
It's important that your software communicates really well with other business critical software you're using as well. So it's not just its own little standalone thing, right? Because once you start estimating, you bid level the whole project. A lot of times you'll have a project management tool, whatever that might be. That's actually when you're actually putting the shovel in the dirt or putting the drill bit in the ground. You have a different system for that, and you have to be able to kind of spit that out in a way right directly into there, as opposed to just having its own thing in a box.
Yeah. So so Trace Management, of course, they have a customer, a well site, call you up and okay, I need you to go do 10 workovers. So that's a different kind of project than say Devin comes in. They're just, that could be a project to where, hey, I'm looking at a piece of property, and this is going to be everything on this piece of property. That's going to be their geology. It's going to be their, I went out and purchased this. Here's also now our drilling. Here's our completion on it. Here's our production. Here's all the data on all that as well. You can put that much under each project, and then all the people that's ever been associated with that project.
Exactly.
And when you guys tackle the hierarchy, so who can edit, who can access, and how that works? Let's talk about that. Yeah,
delegating the workflow is really important, right? You have your project manager or whatever you call that person in charge, right? That's going to delegate that work, different pieces of the workflow to different people internally, and you want to make sure that they have that complete viewership and ownership of their scope of work and who they're sending their bids out to, whether it's to subcontractors or trade partners or just vendors, right? So you have someone in procurement that needs to access piping and things like that. So they have complete ownership of sending those bids out, leveling those bids, setting it up for approval process, and having somebody there to have that clear line of sight of what's happening throughout the job. If they need to talk to somebody, say, hey, you only sent out 2 bids. Why don't you send another one out? They're not having to have that weekly half-day meeting in some cases where they're having to kind of figure out where they are in a project. All he has to do is open the app, see exactly where they are.
Every single person in the project, he knows where they're at.
Exactly. I think that's a really important thing to do, because those weekly meetings, if you look at it from a salary standpoint, and we have everybody in one room for several hours, that's an expensive meeting.
It is.
And I think, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think from a hierarchy standpoint, you do have the ability to give access throughout the software to different levels. So you can give read-only access if you wanted to, read-write, admin access, and you can just give levels of view to different folks within the organization.
Which is really important to us as a project management company. So Jason will have a tech that needs to review stuff, maybe edit some parameters, but maybe not, as well as finance person to come back and check on the numbers and how they work, but doesn't need to edit anything. So it's good to be able to view that from the outside. And let's talk about Gantt charts, or how do we do this process flow? We didn't really get into that earlier, but how does that work?
So we call it phase management. So you have the ability to create multiple different phases throughout the project, and each one of those has certain deliverables in each one of those. So from an EPC standpoint, it could start at front-end engineering of FEL 1. So you got certain people that are going to be involved in that. You can delegate those folks in a certain workflow for FEL 1, 2, and 3. And then when you've got design bid, you've got your design. You're going into to award the bid and go into construction. You can allocate certain people and certain workflows for each one of that. So we call it phase, but we can design it to look however you guys would like.
All right, well, I need you to do all this just for oil and gas now. Now construction, that's part of oil and gas, but I don't want any solar or wind power ever involved. If somebody calls you, I want you to bug their system.
I'll just give them your cell number.
And if there's anybody on the Democratic side, if there's a project management team for a Democratic candidate, no, they don't get the software yet.
It's a deal, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we just met your state senator, Stephanie. I don't know her last
Oh,
name. Vice.
we're big fans.
Yeah.
He's gonna come get her to speak at a couple things coming up.
She was great. Yeah,
She is.
She just drank. She just ate lunch with us.
She doesn't
and,
drink.
She's been drinking the Kool-Aid for a while, guys, and that's what matters.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie.
Where'd you guys run into her at?
At the lunchbirds.
Oh, cool. Yeah, she's great.
She was fantastic.
How did we miss that? Why we should have been there.
I know. I didn't even know it.
Some of us are better plugged in than others.
Well, allegedly, Trace Management will also go into project management for other industries besides oil and gas someday, except for solar and wind.
Okay.
Heck, if it pays the bills, it pays the bills. We're agnostic when it comes to
$20 is not $20, Jeremiah. I don't want to get into that conversation again.
We got wind and solar being backed by government subsidies. Now they're the best paying client out there. They've always been on time.
That says
Won't say
everything
no
that
to
needs to
anything.
say to me. As soon as the government says we back you, that's
Government doesn't mind spending our money, so I might as well
not a
get some
bit.
of it.
That's
if I can.
true.
Obviously, they are better at spending my money than I am.
Let me ask you guys a question, if it's okay to get off topic a little bit.
It always
Please.
is.
Okay.
That's what we do here.
What do you guys, what do you hear about ESG and the importance of the ongoing compliance issues?
in
I'm
a-
excited to hear Matt's response here.
In a lot of people's mind, ESG really matters. That's not my mind.
I can tell you a lot of major operators are now creating positions where they're looking for these guys. It's something we have to reconcile with. It's not going away. Private equity has left our industry. The banks are leaving it in droves. And so now we're having to adopt ESG. We got to figure out better ways to get rid of our waste and what to do with it. So I think it's prominent. It's not going anywhere. We are going to come into an oil shortage before long, and that'll probably go out the window for a little bit.
Natural gas too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's already
But
There's pinch points.
It's here to stay. If we want to attract money back into our industry, we will have to look at how we can be more environmentally sound.
Yeah.
Not to say we're not, but we have some bad actors, just like any other industry. But they're the ones that it's always the fingers pointed at, and then generalized to us as a whole.
Do you think that standard's going to come from the top down, from
It's
your
going to come from your
chevrons?
software.
Or
You're
is
going
it-
to have a tab that it calculates your ESG.
Well, so we had Katie Plass. She was
Yep.
an engineer sitting in here with us a while back, and we kind of have a similar mindset. You know, where us as individuals, we care about environmental, social governance. I want clean water. You know, I want clean air.
Me too.
So it's from the bottom, but it's as well. But from the top, is really being pushed, and it's going to be the publicly traded companies that are going to push that first, or trying to sell. But environmental, social governance is here to stay. Us little guys, you know, we have a small operating company, and we're not getting picked on about that. But vendors will eventually be forced to have some type of environmental, social governance set in place, and we kind of already do. We do a lot of FERC-related company work, and it's always been in there. That, you know, how we clean up if there is an incident on site or anything like that. But now it's becoming more prominent where, for whatever reason, that was the acronym they picked, environmental social governance. So
It sounds good. Now we
now we
also
got-
call oil and gas earth energy.
earth energy. I've always just called it hydrocarbons. I don't like to call it fossil
But it
fuels.
hydrocarbons is a bad word now. So now we call it earth energy. if the green people have green energy, we have earth energy.
All right, I like it.
I'm just saying.
It'll stick.
There's another tab you can put on there.
Yeah.
You know, how much earth energy did we collect?
Yeah.
But we are necessary. There's no way around it. California can't exist without us, or
right.
any of these states. So as much as it's always not in my backyard, right? But as always the mentality, Colorado's going through that with their setback laws and everything they've been pushing. So it's here to stay. We just got to figure out how to navigate around it. Unfortunately, it's another regulatory piece of the pie that we're going to have to spend money on. It raises our costs.
The good news is the oil and gas industry, by and large, is very good at adapting. We always have been, and I think this is another way for us to set a standard.
And I'm not mad about it. We need that standard.
Well, it's because you rise to the
emissions,
occasion.
wellheads.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of stuff we could do better. There's no way around it, but we do a really good job at a lot of things, but there's no reason we can't step up to the plate. But
One
it does
reason.
have to. It has to be in a.
We have bad software, and we need epic workflows so that I have more
Bringing it
time
back.
to go high level and think about these problems.
hey, Jerry, we're taking Matt to all of our meetings.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you guys thought about how that will affect your software or anything like that?
I'll have more tabs.
The answer is yes.
More tabs. I mean, I think you hit on it from the beginning. So we're already doing a couple things from the from the safety side of things, and that's making sure that
You're integrating it with.
ISNet.
There we go.
And PEC, I'd assume, shortly after.
Yeah,
They're the other major, and then you got CCS, because I know you guys CCS is pretty big in other industries outside of oil and gas. I don't know if you guys have talked to them.
No, but that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So those just tuning in, not knowing too much about oil and gas, we have the IS network that tracks all of our data on our safety side, and so with your software, you can integrate that and.
No, safety.
Yep.
So COIs or certificates of insurance.
Yep.
If it was already uploaded into ISNet, where it would immediately extract that for the client.
So yeah, that is. I want to be clear. That is a future feature of the software. So right now you'd have to do that by hand.
Make it happen.
But we are going to make it happen. So yeah, yes, all of those documents would pull in. So when you pulled up a vendor to vet that vendor and say, okay, these are the 3 guys that I want to go after for this job, you'd pull up all their safety information, real time.
And will that store in there? So
Yes.
you'll get that because, if you do a look back, unfortunately for legal reasons or anything like that, and you want to say, no, they were compliant on that day, we have the appropriate paperwork to back that up. So
Yeah.
your software will store that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a really cool feature. It seems like one more thing to add to it, but if it automatically inputted it, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That's something else we had a discussion about because it's a pet peeve of mine is redundancy of entering in the same information over and over again.
He has a list.
That's a common thing we've heard. Is there's double entry everywhere, everywhere, and this is a big reason why we exist is to eliminate those
I
redundancies.
want to see some Scouts honor to say that
Scouts honor.
like that you guys will not have redundancy in your software. That is. Some redundancy is good, so I shouldn't use that word, but am I going to enter in the same darn information over and over
Hey,
again?
Scout's honor, and you can tell them we said so.
So, so how do you guys do extraction from like Excel sheets? So say they got Matt brought up a 10 well package earlier that we got to do workovers for, and we need to do a process flow to see how much the costs that are going to be allocated to each well. So could we upload that from an Excel file?
You absolutely could. If you think about our software, it really is. We talked about a GUI interface that basically is spreadsheets in the cloud, right? So we can not only can we import from spreadsheets and get all of that data into it, but to your example, what we would do is build a 10 well workover spreadsheet or template rather that would go in. So once we did that one time, and you've got all of the constant or stagnant line items that go in there, you can always add and customize, but once we built that template, the next time you have that job, it's as simple as going in and making a few edits and being able to send out that bid to whoever you wanted to at that point.
And add all the people that are going to be on that project and on and on and on.
That's
There's
correct.
just like a cookie cutter for the most
Absolutely.
part.
And more than likely,
Speeds
hopefully,
up your workflow.
that's right. More than likely, you haven't had that much turnover, and so you've got to.
We do not have turnover here.
Perfect. You can just drag and drop those folks into the correct positions.
The oil field is legend for keeping our people for long, long periods of time at the same job.
Not cyclical at all.
No.
Don't ever think it. Yeah. What is the Royal Bangkok? And I can't get that. I've been trying to read the last 2 words.
Sports Club. So I had a buddy. We'll give him a shout out here, Dave Anderson. Dave is a reservoir engineer. He was one of the partners at Viquette. And Dave was a distinguished lecturer for the Society of Petroleum Engineers.
Oh,
So
good.
Dave had a trip to Singapore and to Bangkok, and so he invited me to go along with him. And my wife was sitting right there, and Dave says, I think we should do this. And I said, I don't know. And KK said, I think you should go. And I said, I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm going.
You got the boss's approval. You
So
gotta go.
we did, yeah. So that's a golf club over there.
Oh, cool. How was it?
It was unique in that they've got a full horse track going right through the middle of the golf course.
Really?
Horses running while you're shooting golf balls right at.
No one's ever hit a horse with a golf ball.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
I haven't played golf there, neither have you.
You can say that with authority because you know I don't play golf.
I know you do, it's just you're really bad at it like me.
How are the courses? Did you have someone carrying your bag? Could you have
Yeah.
technology? Or tell me how nice this course was.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. So I had back up a little bit. I have a couple of friends that I grew up in a small town in East Texas, Marshall, and a couple of friends that were Thai, and they moved back to Thailand after their parents got older. That's tradition. You go back and take care of your parents. So they moved back over to Thailand. So they're members here, and they took me to play golf there. Yes. So for $3, you get a caddy, and for another $3, there's a lady that will follow you around with an umbrella. So there you go.
Really?
I just need somebody to follow me around with a drink with an umbrella.
Yeah, and a sandwich. Just
Yeah, by the way, if this
was
wasn't a truncated podcast, we usually have cocktails in here with us, but your Dr. Pepper will work this time.
Yeah.
Well, so we're going to try to get you guys out of here today. And please, anytime you're in Oklahoma City, guys, come back and tell us how it's going, tell us like more features. But for those listening, like give us your sign off. Like how can they get a hold of you? And do you send demo packages out for them to play with, or?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the software is new, and so we just we live for feedback. We're iterating the software just as quickly as we get that feedback. So absolutely, we'll not only send a demo, but we can give some logins, and so you have the opportunity to play around in the software real time. We just value that feedback so much right now. That's the stage that we're in. So I have my cell phone number on my business card, but it's Jerry at epicworkflow.tech. Got to get that right. And then 832-696-3322 is my cell number. Call me directly anytime.
Yeah, what Jerry said. We've taken a lot of good feedback meetings, and now we're onboarding people, and it's kind of hitting the ground running. And these early adopters are our favorites. For a lot of reasons, mainly because you help kind of shape how you want it, which is also helpful for the entire industry. So, John at epicworkflow.tech. 713-444-7783. Sounds like a fake number, but I promise it's real.
Yeah, just put it on all the bathroom walls.
Yeah. I love it when people give out their phone numbers.
For good software, change it up a little bit.
For good software, call epicworkflow.tech. .tech.
Guys, thank you so much for hosting us. We really appreciate it. And
This is what we do. We host pretty vanilla, beautiful, informational, educational, sometimes humorous.
Yeah, we like to have a little more time so we can bullshit longer, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, that's honestly what Jerry and I do best.
I was starting to sweat that you're going to make me go into Thailand stories, so I'm kind of glad.
Next time on Talking Energy Show, we get everything about Thailand and oil and gas money, everybody. But anyway, we'll get you guys out of here. Guys, thank you. Please tune in next time and reach out to our friends at epicworkflow.tech. Goodbye.